And you said your dad's side, of course, your mom's side. Only child, brothers, sisters, other
Only
people?
child, only
Only
child.
child. Hence the
And
emotion.
hence the, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, true. And I don't know. So I wrote this memoir last year about the fact that just a few years ago, when I was like 40, my parents sat me down and told me for the first time that my dad is not my biological father.
Wow.
Yes.
For the first
So,
time.
yeah, for 40,
Why
this was a secret that they kept for 40 years.
why do they feel you needed to know now? Like if you made it 40 years with this secret, why drop the bomb? You know, it's
So,
like I want to compare this to the person that's 60 years old that gets braces. And you're like, well, you know, you're kind of
at this point,
at this
why?
point, like what do
You're
you like
good.
we're on
You're
I
good.
think you should just ride it out. Like you want to correct them for the last 15? You want to get to the
So this
last
is what
15
happened.
years?
So this is what happened, Kev. When Scandal was ending,
Mm-hmm.
Skip Gates, who has that show Finding Your Roots on PBS.
Yes.
Haven't you done
Yes.
it? You've done it, right?
Yes, I know exactly. Yes.
Okay. Yes, yes, your episode is incredible. Okay.
Yes.
So Skip Gates called me and said, you haven't had the time. I've been trying to get you on the show. You haven't been able to do it. Now that Scandal's ending, let's do it. And I was like, yes, let's do it. This is going to be great. And I called my parents because my mom does all this genealogy stuff for Jamaica. She can trace her family back to like Scottish pirates that landed in Jamaica. Like it's crazy. But there's a lot we didn't know on my dad's side. So I was like, this is great. Let's do it. I told my parents and my dad started having panic attacks.
Oh my God. He shit himself.
I was like, what's going on, you guys? God. What's the big deal? Like, this is going to be so cool. And I was like, what are you worried about? That like, we're going to find out a great grandparent was a pimp? Like, that's dope. Like, let's do it. That'll be so fun. But there was a whole other level of secrecy.
Did it? Okay. I can only assume that this type of information rocked you to the core.
To the core.
Off the back. Okay. But at the same time, just playing devil's advocate, I mean, a secret being kept from anybody for that amount of time is just like, why? Ouch. But then, you know, attaching it to the level of love and the commitment to raising you to be the best possible woman that you not only are and have become, but that you could be. I think all of that stuff has to go into account as well. It's like, you know, a secret is a secret, but a secret with effort behind it is a little different. And this one seems
100%.
like, yeah, it seems like a layered version.
That's a lot of the journey of the memoir is like, first of all, when they told me I did feel like my whole world turned upside down, but I also felt so excited and like, oh, it was like the metaphor I use is that it's almost like there was this puzzle on the wall in our home that always had this one piece. It was like a puzzle of New York City, and somebody took like a Snoopy puzzle piece and jammed it in where there was a missing piece, and we all walked by it and pretended that it was normal, but something was off. Like something was off in my family, and I knew, but I didn't know what I didn't know. So when they told me, it was almost like a sense of relief. Like, oh, this is why I've always been a little uncomfortable in my skin. This is why I've always wondered why I had a disconnect with my dad. This is why I've always felt like there was something like a veil between my parents and I, where people would say like, oh, I talk to my mom every day. She's my best friend. And I'd be like, I would not know what that felt like in a million years. So it suddenly was like an opportunity for my family to be real, to like get
authentic,
real and be honest. Yes. Yeah. And for some reason, like by the grace of God, because I looked over at my dad and he was so upset that he had to tell me this. And I think he was afraid that it would change our relationship.
Of course.
And somehow I had the wherewithal in that moment to say to him, Dad, you know, every time that I have said I love you up until this moment, it has been on the condition of a lie. Like there has been some part of you that thought she loves me because she thinks I'm her dad. And now I get emotional even just Like every time I talk about it, it makes me, now I get to love you truly unconditionally. Like now you get to see that I know the truth of our relationship and nothing changes. Like you
That's
get to be
like
loved in truth.
that's beautiful. It's beautiful and heavy at the same time. And I'm willing to bet like that it lit it probably like created the opportunity for this amazing light within himself
Yeah.
to finally shine, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're right.
I,
He is like, what an incredible dad. Like you and I both know, like coming where we come from, there were so many dads who didn't show up, who couldn't show
mhm.
up, who, for whatever reason were not present. And here's a man who was like, I don't care where the sperm comes from, you're mine. You will
Yeah,
be mine. You will so
yeah.
much be mine that I will forget that there's any other way of thinking about this. It'll never be talked about. You are mine, I am yours. Like that, it's such a fierce love that he gave me.
I love the depth just in you already. You know, we're I'm serious. Like we're what maybe 15 minutes into the conversation, and already 20 minutes in already we have discovered an amazing upbringing and just like discovery and you and being this kid that was, I want to say engulfed into this space of theater, into this
Mhm.
world of like talent that you got to see on a regular, and it only sparked the interest for you to do, and that
Mhm.
interest led
Mhm.
you to a school to pursue and do. And from that, the idea of gamble and chance is like something
Mhm.
that we all are faced with in this career. And your gamble was attached to a timeline, and then that timeline, you said that you had to do something, and if you didn't do it, you would go and do these things, right? And I want to know, like, now as we're discovering so much, I want to know like what the discovery was of the moment when you did the thing that you gave yourself like a period to do. Like, what did you
Mm.
book? What was the thing that
Mm,
actually took
mm,
place
mhm.
that made you go, okay, shit, I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna go and be
Yeah.
a doctor. All right, no,
Right.
no doctor, no doctor, no lawyer. Just the highest levels of profession, by the way. No doctor, no lawyer,
No,
guys. I'm not gonna do
I
it.
would have never made it through medical school, but I
Yeah,
thought
I'm
like
not gonna do
maybe I
it.
could be like a counselor, like a
Yeah.
psychologist or a
Yeah,
lawyer.
that's easy. The easy stuff. Got it. Right. I'm not going to do it.
I
Guys,
mean,
I'm going to do this.
at least in those paths, there is like a structure to how you do it. Like if you're going to be a
Mm-hmm.
clinical psychologist, there's a plan. And I think
Mm-hmm.
there's a part of me that is drawn to that kind of structure because it's not as scary. Like in what we do, there's no plan. Like you
Yes.
are constantly taking these steps of faith and hoping that the net appears when you leap,
Yes.
so in that first year, I got so lucky, and I really do say lucky because I know how blessed I am. I work my ass off. I work very hard, and I know that I'm talented. But I have also always been in acting classes with people who are as talented or more talented than I am, and I know
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that. So I know a lot of this is just like there, but for the grace of God. And in that first year, I got this really beautiful, tiny little independent film that shot in Brooklyn. That was like literally our transportation department was like a bunch of Metro cards, and our wardrobe department was a trip to Salvation Army and Walmart. And it was so bare bones. We were stealing shots on the subway because we couldn't afford permits. But that movie went to Sundance, was like critically acclaimed at Sundance, and then got nominated for Independent Spirit Awards. And I got nominated for an Independent Spirit Award.
Wow.
And then while I was making that movie, I auditioned for Save the Last Dance. So that was my second
Mm-hmm.
film, was like a
Mm-hmm.
big, huge Hollywood
Mm-hmm.
tent pole, like, at that time, such a big fancy studio.
I used to ask myself, like, you go through the stages of comparison early on in a career, right? Because the grass is always greener over there. And I'm like, oh my God, man, like, if I could have his career. I used to be so envious
Who would you
of
do
Sean.
that to? Who did you
I
compare
mean, I
yourself?
did it to what's his name that starred in Save the Last Dance? What's his
Oh,
name?
Sean Patrick
Sean
Thomas.
Patrick Thomas. Yeah, Sean Patrick Thomas. Because you got to
Ah,
think, like, in the earlier days, Sean Patrick Thomas, Derek Luke,
yeah,
Columbus Short. These were the
yeah.
guys that were like really just at the
Mm,
forefront of like, our culture and the
yeah,
new
yeah,
momentum or the new wave of who was coming.
yep.
And as a comedian, I wasn't getting the opportunity to audition, or I wasn't getting in front of the right people. And I was like, oh my God, man, if I could only have the
Right, right.
chances, or
If
if I
I could
could
do
only
that.
do,
Hmm.
yeah. And
Hmm.
I was just envious. So when you bring up Save the Last Dance, it just makes me think of that time and how amazing, Sean, who I know, who I've met and, throughout the years, developed a great relationship with. But during that time, I was like, man, these movies are so great. And he's like,
Yeah,
like what, how, when?
yeah,
And
yeah.
it
It
was, it
feels
was,
so impossible when you're on the outside of that circle you want to be in. It feels so impossible.